Alright, so this is Unit 6, Lesson number 4, and as you can see from the top, we're going to look at temperature versus heat. We're going to learn how to convert between the two most commonly used scales in chemistry, which is Celsius and Kelvin, and we'll explain the difference between temperature and heat because they are different. Let's quickly run through the definition. Remember we said that the definition of temperature is basically kinetic energy. The faster particles are moving, the higher the temperature is going to be. It's measured in two scales, either degrees Celsius, which you're probably familiar with, or a scale called the Kelvin scale. Converting between the two, there is a formula on reference table T. It's relatively simple because it's a matter of simply either adding or subtracting 273. The symbol would be, of course, capital T for temperature. Heat is the amount of energy transferred from one substance to another. It's measured in units joules, or sometimes it's kilojoules. And the symbol would be Q. Sometimes it's a capital Q. Either one would be fine. Alright, so let's quickly run through the two temperature scales. It's on your reference tables. One of the things that you have to be able to do is to convert from Celsius to Kelvin or Kelvin to Celsius, and depending on the direction, it's a matter of either adding or subtracting 273, and that's it. So if you have 200 degrees Celsius and you want to convert it to Kelvin, you're going to use that formula. Kelvin equals the Celsius temperature plus 273. So if they give me a Celsius temperature and want me to convert to Kelvin, I simply add 273. If I have a Kelvin and they want me to change it to Celsius, I subtract 273. So in this case, I'm just adding 273. So 200 Celsius would be equal to 473 Kelvin. One of the things about the Celsius and Kelvin scale is you might think that in the Celsius and Fahrenheit, that they're completely different. If something changes 10 degrees Celsius, it's not going to change 10 degrees Fahrenheit. But that is the case in the Kelvin versus the Celsius scale. If you have two thermometers, one's a Celsius thermometer and one's a Kelvin thermometer, if the temperature of the substance in the Celsius thermometer goes up 10 degrees, it will also go up 10 in the Kelvin. They're just different starting points. So let's take a look quickly at the law of conservation of energy. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transferred. Heat always moves from a warmer object, and I know you can't see the bottom. Heat always moves from a warmer object to colder objects, right? Cold cannot travel. Only heat can travel. So, for example, if you put a tray of liquid water in the freezer and you want to make ice, the water in the tray is warmer than the freezer temperature, so the heat will travel from the liquid water into the freezer, so the water will cool off. So the heat travels from the water into the freezer. You wake up in the morning and your bare foot touches the ceramic floor and it feels cold. Explain which way heat is being transferred. Well, if the floor is colder, that means that heat is being transferred from your foot to the floor. That's why if you stand on a cold surface with your bare feet, your feet are going to get cold because the floor is much colder than your feet. So you're losing heat from your feet into the floor. You are cooking pasta in a boiling metal pot of water. You grab the metal handles with your bare hands. Not a good idea. Explain which way heat is being transferred. Well, obviously the metal handles are hotter than your hand. So the heat from the metal handle is going to be transferred into your hand. That's a burn. Okay, and that is Unit 6, Lesson number 3.